Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Let's get into the action Sunday, March 2nd within the college basketball ranks. This is going to be one where we have a couple games, I think, in terms of the marquee appeal worth watching, but for the most part, it's going to be a lot of games that it's either senior night, does not have implication for kind of March or anything like that, but we will continue to finish up the season, and these are games where you can find some pride spots where you get some value with the number, and we're going to talk about some of those games because there are a couple leans along the way that I do favor as well. But I'm going to give you 5 of my picks that I do favor in this spot. We'll talk about the card, run down the board. It's not a big one, but we do have enough to get into, so let's get it. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe down below. A couple things of business. If you wondered about yesterday, we are starting to form some kind of tracking system software that's transparent. That way you guys can see there is a website being built as well. I want to get all this up and running before baseball season does kick off, as you guys all are aware. That's kind of where we put the majority of our chips into this whole operation that we have going. But let's get into the picks today. Make sure you also check out the Discord, links down below, and OUTLIER 7-day free trial. If you have not already tried it, college basketball with all the games going on, you really do need to find an edge. Sign up with OUTLIER today. Links down below. Just check it out for 7 days at the very least, okay? And as we look into the games, this is where we're going to talk about the first game on the board that was kind of appealing to me. FAU, South Florida, that's always one. It's more so a pick 'em in the terms of my numbers. So that's one. If you did want to find some value, always take the points within kind of the home team in a game that's considered a coin flip. But the first game that we do have on our card that we will be betting, this will be Iona and Canisius. Now, we look into this spot, there's going to be something very, very interesting about it. Canisius is 3-25 on the season, and this is going to be one where you could see kind of within this low total of money being wagered on this game. An overwhelmingly amount of the handle is on Canisius, 91%, despite only 39% of the money. Now, this is going to come as a surprise to most because if we look back at some recent form for these two teams, Iona has been playing games a little bit close to the vest in terms of margin of victory, winning by 2, 7, 5, 5, and 3, respectively. Now, albeit none of these teams are to the level of competition as Canisius, as you want to go back to a January 16th matchup where Iona was able to win 73-67 on the road. So they covered a 2.5-point spread. I think that's just a little bit too many points for the Golden Griffins at home. This is one of those spots where you kind of have to have your Scooby sense on because you're going to say, oh, Canisius, 3-23 on the season, but not so fast if you want to talk about kind of what they've been able to do. Winning 4 out of their last 5, and their losses have been kind of right around in that ballpark. Recently losing on the 28th, 77-72, covering a 6.5-point number. They have went 3-1-1 ATS in their last 5 games. So that's kind of what you're going to get a lot of times with a 3-23 team is you're going to get a 11-16 ATS. Still not profitable. And this is going to be one where I'm going to tell you guys, this is where I view Iona in the spot as almost, it's too good to be true, okay? I would have this number a little bit more so closer to 10. So my numbers are saying take Iona, but the betting splits, and we look at it across the board, there's something weird going on with Canisius, 3-23, but we're going to still lay it with Iona, okay? I'm going to trust my numbers. This is a value pick for me. Nothing that I can see on my end is alluding to any injuries, and we do get Iona 11-5 on the season. So give me the Gales to get this one done on the road, looking to go 14-16. Overall. Okay, 1 o'clock tip-off. That will be my first bet. Next, we are going to look into the Wisconsin-Michigan State game. This is the marquee game of the evening, or afternoon, I should say, 1:30 tip-off. And yeah, if we were going to take a side, we would be jumping all over Wisconsin, getting the points. And these are two of the clubs where, when I do my March Madness breakdown, if you've been watching my stuff, there is 5 teams, in my opinion, that you should be having any somewhat of there's actually probably closer to 6 or 7. Some kind of exposure, whether it be Final Four appearance, whether it be to win the whole darn thing within college basketball. Now they're starting to come up with a lot of the data points, which X amount of teams can win it overall due to the last 20 years, all this stuff. We'll be talking about that a lot on the channel, but for my money, guys, there's about 5 sleepers that I do have, and that will be within Wisconsin, Michigan State. Now, you're going to say Michigan State, how are they a sleeper? Well, I came up with these about 2 months ago. So that's kind of where you look into Wisconsin, Michigan State. You can talk Vanderbilt / Missouri. I have them in the same category, as well as you need to you needed to have some exposure to. St. John's now it's too late, but also within kind of a couple other teams such as Texas Tech and the likes of the other Big Ten school that I do think can make a run within Maryland. Okay, so that's kind of how I feel about it. Have a very good pulse. I think when we come down to picking brackets, I think this will be a fun one. We'll do it live here on the channel. But back into the picks. Wisconsin on the road, covering 4 out of their last 5 against the Spartans here. If you have not been living under a rock, Michigan State has been playing outstanding. And Izzo got his club ready to go, and this is something as they look to wrap up the Big Ten season. And I really get a little upset. I don't think with March Madness the way it is, I'm really not a fan of the conference tournaments. I know it gives people shots, opportunities, and whatnot, but I was traditionally, you'd probably call me a Big East fan, the traditional Big East, and just watching those conference play tournaments, and you'd have a top tier 1 school such as Syracuse back in those days. I remember them playing like a 4 or 5 overtime game and then losing in the first round of the tournament, or it's uncanny that and UConn would be in that same breath too, that they'd make these kids do all those travel spots. And I know they're young kids, but it is taxing on the body and definitely does hurt you when you're about to make a run for the hardware, which is, in my opinion, one of the hardest things to do is win a March Madness bracket. And that's kind of how I feel about it. So I'd love to see these Big Ten schools not get a little run. I'd appreciate if they do away with the postseason tournament, switch to strictly regular season records impacting that decision. So I think they can crown a conference champion, but I think that the bracket needs to go before the bracket, if you will. Sometimes schools will play 2 days after they win it all, and it's just not. It's okay for the teams to stay fresh that aren't going to go to the conference championship, but many times the number 1 and 2 schools, they don't care about that. They want to just get into March Madness and get to their first round location, unless they get that bye. So that's kind of what we're looking at for me, guys. When we talk about the games that are played in the postseason, and more so on this game, this is where we look into Wisconsin. For me, it's going to be plus 4.5. You can get a 5 out there in the market if you shop around. Hard not to take Wisconsin money on the road. But the one bet that I am going to be making, we're going to lean towards the under. Now, this number has kind of put me in a position where I almost have to take it, as we've seen a 145.5 drop now up to 147. So we got to go under that total. That's going to be my best bet, giving out that 147. And if you want to go back and look at this, guys, the reason kind of why, all right, the reason why I feel this strongly about it is I go back to the game that Michigan State played against Maryland on the road in that raucous crowd. Michigan State's going to be something very similar, and I think that if Michigan State does kind of do their bread and butter, they're going to play great defense. They're not going to shoot the 3-point well, and they do have some down the stretch moments where I think they'll be able to outlast Wisconsin. 4.5 really does mean nothing unless it's like a game winner. When you get in the free throw situation to close out a game, it can kind of go by the wayside. We've seen that time and time again where you have 5 points and your team's winning under 2 minutes and you end up losing that bet. So my best bet would be the under. Unless we get overtime, I think this one cashes at Sparty, and that's just going to be my best bet. Also, you could go Wisconsin under their team total, as the market has kind of caught up to that, and those would be some of my best bets. It's just a different way to take Michigan State without laying the 5, essentially, and that's kind of how I feel. Okay. Next, we are going to look into another big red game as Cornell laying 4.5 against Princeton. Princeton 18-9 on the season. I'm taking Cornell minus 4.5. That's going to be my best bet. I've watched a lot of these Ivy League games this season. Don't ask me why, but I love betting Ivy League. And this is kind of where you look into what Cornell brings to the table. They shoot the heck out of the basketball, and that's kind of what we got to see last week as they dismantled Pennsylvania at home 90-62. So anytime a team can put up 90, almost 90 in 4 out of their last 5 games, I'm going to have no problem laying the points in this one. The only thing that does give me some pause is we did see this back in January on the road at Princeton, and the Big Red was able to take down the Tigers as we look at an 85-76 victory. So winning by 9 on the road, they're coming back-to-back performances here where you you're going to want to go double dip in the season series, but this is kind of double dipping off of a lot of good performances back to back. And you talk about Princeton on the road, 5-10 ATS, and it's just, for my money, it's setting up for another big performance from the Cornell Big Red. So I'm going to lay the 4.5 here at home with Cornell. Okay, let's keep this one going. Down the board, we are going to get into the conversation here. Merrimack and Quinnipiac. That's probably not how you pronounce it. I always screw that one up. But Merrimack is one that tough loss they had. Now they come home getting 2.5 points. I do lean towards the Warriors plus 2.5. That's a very strong lean. Not an official bet, but Merrimack, if you do want to get involved in this game, I lean plus 2.5. And honestly, if I wanted to give out more than 5 picks, that would have made my card. Okay, Northern Iowa. This may be a sucker bet for some, but we are going to grab the 4.5 points that we had available this morning. This bet is in for me. This number has just moved. You may be able to find a 4.5 out there still in the market. DraftKings now showing 3.5 at minus 105. But I'm taking Northern Iowa, one of my favorite teams that has not. It's almost like Miller Lite, the great taste that always fills you up but never lets you down, or something like that. But anyways, that's kind of Northern Iowa for my money. So the Panthers, we're going to take them on the road against Bradley. These two teams, by my numbers, this game should be a pick 'em. So we're going to grab that for Northern Iowa, and that's pretty much the way that we're going to do it. Further down the board, there is another kind of Big Ten marquee game, Illinois and Michigan. I'm not going to get involved with that game. I think this is a horrible matchup for Illinois. Stronger performance, though, as they've shown some life recently. But that's kind of where I would leave it at and pass on that game within the Wolverines and the Illini. Okay, now this is the Pound the Alarm. I wish I could hit this button and it actually did something. I have one of those mixers. It's supposed to make sound effects and whatnot. But anyways, that would be where we would definitely use this, okay? So the Memphis UAB game. Now, the reason why we're bringing this up is because Memphis has been one of the better teams, 18th in the country, which those rankings mean absolute dog crap in terms of what we're going to put money on a day-to-day basis. But UAB, 19-9 on the season, little flashy out there. And this is one where you're going to look at Memphis on the road, laying 1.5 and go, why is this number so low? Okay, and that's kind of what leads me to the conversation where this is going to be a let's have fun and watch this game. And if you do want to get involved, this is going to be a very strong lean towards the Tigers. It's a horrible matchup, in my opinion, for UAB. And UAB, they can get the job done, winning 4 out of their last 5, 4 in a row, taking down Wichita State 80-72. Memphis, a loser at Wichita State, 79-84. This is a game where I want to lay it with the Tigers, but UAB at home has me a little bit kind of not so fast. Also following the money, the betting splits are very much favoring the UAB. And taking the Blazers at home in that spot. So it's a stay away game for me. If I do have an indication on which side for a total perspective, this game would go over for me. And that's just kind of how I feel about it. So it's Memphis or nothing, but I don't trust it. So I'm going to stay away and pass on that one. Okay, Colorado, Kansas State. Colorado's been playing some good ball. I bet against them right on at the time that they played that game against Baylor. That was a stinger, but 6.5, 7 points for the Buffaloes on the road. Kansas State's trending in the wrong direction. Lean towards Colorado in this spot. No official play for me, but for those of you out there looking to make a move, that would be a game that I would also have circled on my radar. Okay, another a lean along the way. Central Arkansas and Stetson. This is Stetson money line or nothing at home going against the Bears. Central Arkansas, one of the worst teams out there in the sport, and that's kind of where Stetson, I think, is the better team. You get them at home at basically a pick-em price, so that's just a value play in terms of taking the Hatters to get this one done. 7 o'clock tip-off. Okay, but the last game on the card, we're going to fade North Florida against the Ospreys here, taking the Austin Peay Governors as a short underdog here, plus 120 money line, but I'll lay the 2.5, taking Austin Peay. That's going to be my best bet as we wrap up the card, as we get them at home. A little bit of a trend lines for this game, if we want to talk about it even deeper. Okay, Austin Peay, as we look into kind of their last 8 games against bottom 25 scoring defenses out there in the NCAA, 75% cover rate, as well as kind of a 80% cover rate in their last 5 games ATS. So that's going to be where we look at Austin Peay getting the job done 90% of the time out of their last 10, also against bottom 25 scoring defenses. So this is one of those data points that OUTLIER does provide that does allow me to make a bet. So we'll see what happens. You look at North Florida and Austin Peay, and you're going to say basically just 2 shit teams. Which one are you going to go with? But using the data and insights from OUTLIER allows me to make some picks sometimes, and I don't always use betting trends because they don't tell the whole story, but in this spot in specific, I think we do get some value getting Austin Peay with some points at home, and that's kind of just where I'm going to play this market. So that'll wrap it up. Those are my best bets. Make sure you guys all like, comment, and subscribe down below. Let's try to follow up yesterday. We did have a little bit of a positive day if you look at the overall within leans and best bets. So that's going to be good as we move forward. Yeah, so that's what we got. Good luck with your picks. Just to recap kind of the day, we're going to go under within the Michigan State game. Iona, we're going to lay 6.5. Austin Peay taking that 2.5 points. Cornell minus 4.5. And Northern Iowa, we're going to go on the Old Faithful, if you will, as we look for them plus 4.5 against Bradley. Okay, so those are the best bets here on the channel. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you all in the next video. Cheers.